Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Chagigah, page 2, which discusses the obligation that a person has during the pilgrimage festivals of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot to go and travel to Yerushalayim, to go to the Beis HaMikdash and bring various sacrifices. Our Mishnah here tells us that not everyone was obligated to do so. For example, someone who is elderly, an individual who is sick, or someone that had difficulty walking because they had problems with their legs. It doesn't mean that they were not allowed to go, but they were not obligated to have to go, because the Torah understands that this would be a great difficulty for them, and because of that, they were allowed to decide whether or not they were going to do this trip. Another element of sensitivity found on this page has to do with, in those days, someone who was a worker for a boss or a master. Now, the question is, if a person only was partially owned, so to speak, and that is possible if you have two partners. One of them frees the servant, and the other one keeps him as his servant. So the question is, what do we do for financial gain? So on this, the Talmud says, it's very simple. He could work one day, and his work will go to his boss or master, and the next day, he gets to keep those profits, he gets to keep the paycheck for himself, and so on and so forth. On this, Beit Hillel says, therefore, this seems to be a very good rationale for this person to be able to live his life this way. Beit Shammai says there's an issue, and that problem is that this man will never be able to get married, because he is in this quasi-state of being partially a servant and partially free. He would not be able to marry anyone. And we find in the verse it says that one of the major elements of this world is for a person to be able to have companionship and ultimately to be able to have children. This person would not be able to do that. And therefore, the Jewish courts actually would force this master, this boss, to sell him completely so that he becomes completely free. And therefore, because of that, this person actually will be obligated to go to Yerushalayim because we consider him as a free person. So even though it's true that this individual on some level was partially owned, but the sages were extremely sensitive and understood the importance that this person should be able to be married and be able to have a life of his own.